thank you all for being here, and thank you for the wonderful air conditioning, because it's getting a bit too hot and heavy outside. As I've just introduced, I'm Jo Cronk, the Managing Director of Wayler, and we're here today to dig into influencer, what it means, where we are today, but really looking forward of what the future of influencer is. I think the reason this room looks like it's pretty packed is that over the past few years, quote-unquote influencer marketing has gone from being something that's been like a tactical add-on to a campaign to something that is unquestionably critical to a marketer's playbook. So we have got three phenomenal and significantly better dressed than I creators stroke influencers with us today. I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves. So if you can just give a bit of background, who you are, what you do, but also to really kick things off, I'd love to hear, what does the term influencer mean to you as influencers? Natalia, if you can kick us off.
Hi guys, my name is Natalia Seth, also known as Escaping Youth on Instagram, and I am a creative influencer and surrealistic photographer. I started photography when I was 13 years old, started creating when I was 13, and I taught myself Photoshop, which is what I use for all these photos, and I taught myself through YouTube. So all of this led to working with some of my dream brands such as Adobe and Coca-Cola and growing a following of over 230,000 followers on Instagram. And going back to your question, influencer to me means someone who shares experiences or products that they love in an authentic and mutually beneficial way to their followers.
That was perfect.
Yeah, good luck following that.
It's a tough one to follow.
You're 19, right?
Yes, I'm 19.
Lord, you love this kid. Oh, look at me, that's me. Hey y'all, I'm Devin. I go by Devin on deck, but you can just call me Devin, that's fine. I am a fashion school dropout, believe it or not. And I experimented with social media back in I want to say 2013, 2014, and landed myself a job as one of the first employees at Snapchat. After about a year and a half after Instagram basically yanked them from under their feet, I left. And I started freelancing. So all the things I learned in both spaces was how to take this creative stuff and then how do you connect that with revenue? Just kind of learning that language, how to track things and, draw a clear line. That's really what I wanted to figure out. I just started experimenting. So on myself first, I was my first own guinea pig, and then musicians, and then athletes, and then now it's Fortune 100. So I'm really blessed to be able to consult on both sides. So your AT&Ts, your Wells Fargos, et cetera. But then also with my personal brand, I'm able to bring value there too. So it's really cool to have a seat at the table and be respected for this and not just the numbers. I'm on YouTube and Instagram. So you'll get fashion stuff on how to dress around your dad bod because I haven't worked out in a year and I'm married. So I try to make sure to hide the belly as much as possible. And then also how to build your business, the best apps for Instagram stories. So yeah, it's I'm that fashion tech dude. So there we go.
And the question?
Oh, yes. Influencer is a subjective term. I have no strong feelings for it. I'm usually against it, but I have a recent perspective that was put on my head by a good friend of mine named Julian Mitchell. And he was like, why don't you just redefine it? Because people are going to continue to use it. But there's definitely a clear line between the flat tummy tea girl and us, right? So I think that's something that we have to work to continue to maybe just redefine it, and just put something behind it that is true for us.
Okay.
And finally, Alyssa.
My turn.
Ooh. Shall we? We're a slide missing at the back if anyone can help. If not, Devin, you're going to get more airtime during this.
All right.
Keep on talking.
Do I keep?
No, sorry. I mean visually. Alyssa,
Okay,
you can still kick off.
So that's not me. But hi, my name is Alyssa Lenore, and I basically grew up around the internet. So I was there when it was dial-up. I was there when everyone was on AIM, on Xanga, on MySpace, Facebook. Every single phase of it, I was on it. So then when things started to kind of become Instagram and all those easy social media networks that you can have on your phone, I've kind of been there not because I wanted a career out of it, but because I was genuinely interested in it. I was into photography, fashion, and I just wanted to share so many different aspects of my life in a genuine way with whoever wanted to listen or who wanted to give their time to listen. So I think the whole, like, what I like to do on social media is basically just share my life, because I want my followers to get to know me and who I am, and not just like the product that I'm pitching or anything like that. Like, they know about my relationship, they know about my family. I take them along with me behind the scenes, and I feel like that's the best way to connect with my audience. And I think that ties into how I feel an influencer should be, and it's not just basically what you want to sell, because usually when people see hashtag ad, they'll kind of like just kind of be like whatever about it. But if you know how to storytell because you genuinely know your audience, then it's like the most, like, I feel like efficient way to actually connect with them and be able to, you know, do your job as an influencer. So.
Perfect. So, Devin, I'm going to throw this first question over to you, but then everyone obviously get a chance to pitch in. Being part of the community, how long have you been part of like the creator community for?
Man, I mean, as far as like taking my personal brand stuff seriously,
yeah.
I want to say like after Snapchat time. So I started doubling down like in 2016.
So a few years. So in that time,
Yeah.
what kind of change have you seen, and what impacts it had on like the commercial work that you're currently doing?
I've seen the game evolve because I was a student first. I was just like watching. So like, and I was totally fine being behind the scenes because again, it was about like, the reason I dropped out of fashion school because they weren't teaching me the business side. Like, how do you sell stuff online? I knew that was like the new frontier, and they didn't have that part. They told me they taught me everything from like, you know, sketching croquis and like how to sew stuff and art history, which means nothing to me right now because I'm not an art historian. Like, I'm sure it's great for some people, but didn't apply to like my trajectory. They taught me how to be an employee, basically. I'm like, I want to build my own. So if I do design my own shoes, which I'm very passionate about, how am I going to sell them? So that's the journey I was on. And it led me to a place where I was just experimenting with social media. So back to answering your question, just want to give a little backstory. It's evolved from a place of like, something that, like you said, you've been here for a long time, right? So like something that was just fun and like creative.
Yeah.
To now like a legitimate business. It's been great to see the evolution of it and just where it's grown to. So I think back in the day, things used to be a lot more Wild West, and I feel like there's a lot more structure around it now. And I'm just happy to be a part of the journey, and I'm able to evolve with it, right? When Instagram started prioritizing video, I started doing videos, you know, like, so I'm able to like, it challenges you to kind of, you know, stay in pace with that. Otherwise, you're out of here.
And Natalia, that structure, do you see that as a good thing or a bad thing? Does it limit you in the way you want to tell your stories, or does it push you more to be even more creative than you'd be otherwise?
I think it pushes me more because I've been doing it since I was 14 or 13 years old. And influencer wasn't really a title then. It was more just like you get free stuff and you promote it, but like it wasn't really a job yet. And now I think it's more structured. And I think the competition is healthy because since there's such a saturation of influencers now, it pushes creatives to be more creative and to differentiate themselves and be more authentic.
So let's stick with this theme of like competition. I think, you know, it's fair to say that what you all do, it definitely works, which is why you have brands coming back to you again and again, and huge like multinational blue chip brands too. So how do you think like why does it work? Which I'd love all of you to kind of answer. And then any of you as well, like, why is what you're doing, why is it more impactful, delivering more business results than you might see for more traditional forms of advertising, whether that be print, out of home, social paid posts? If you can dig in a bit to that, that'd be fantastic.
I think like because I started growing a following through Tumblr a couple of years ago, I've gotten, and that was when I was still in college, like freshman year, still trying to figure things out. And a lot of my followers now have told me that they've been there for years. So I think it's really awesome to know that I have people that have grown up with me. Even just looking at my demographics, it shifted from 18 to 24-year-olds, like that used to be my majority, and now it's 25 to 34-year-olds. So I know that they're growing up with me, and the fact that they've stayed for that long, considering it's been like 7-8 years of that, whether it was just on Tumblr to when it shifted on Instagram, the fact that they are staying is a testament to the fact that I know that I'm doing something right.
Yep.
And I feel like they've just gotten to know me, that they can actually trust me. Like, it's not just about sharing a product that I love. It's about also giving advice when someone just like wants to reach out about something. Like someone tells me they're going through a difficult breakup, or they're telling me that they just don't love what they're doing at school. I feel like you need to know your audience, and you need to know that like they genuinely care about your opinion. And that's why going into brand partnerships, you want to make sure you align with it, and that you will do your job and share like good information with them. Because I mean, anyone can say yes to a pitch. Like a brand like waves money at you and you're just like, yeah, I'll do it, I'll post about it. But you need to put thought behind it. You need to be able to tell your story in an authentic way. So I make sure that anything that I work with aligns with what I do in my life, and that it, like, I genuinely love it. So that way, like, my followers have no question, like, oh, she's just doing this for money. And I feel like brands see that, because I've had so many partnerships that have been repeated throughout the year, like just like Origins, Neiman Marcus, like Fossil. Those are all brands that know my work ethic, and they clearly have seen results. So that's why they come back. And then that way, when my followers see something in the summer, in the fall, in the winter, they're not like, oh, this is just so far out of left field. Like, I know she's into this brand, so I'm into it.
And Natalia, how do you know when the collaboration, like the paid collaborations you're doing, how can you tell when they're working?
Well, kind of going off what Alyssa said, I also share a lot of my process and build that trust with my followers. And so my followers already trust me, and they know I'm my authentic self on Instagram, even though a lot of my photos are photoshopped and are very like perfect, but like really weird. But I share a lot of my weird processes through my stories, so they still know that I'm a person and they know my personality. And so through all of that, I gain their trust, and they trust my opinions, and so they trust what brands I promote as well.
I think you guys have teed up perfectly what I want to pivot into. You said the words authentic and trust a ton, which is right. But in the space that we're all in, there's also a lot of noise and negativity when it comes to fraudulent behavior, whether it be fake followers, bots. It'd be good to hear from you, and we'll start with you, Devin, because you're looking directly at me. I can tell there's something you want to get off your chest. But let's just get into the nitty-gritty nastiness that you read in the headlines sometimes.
Who here has seen an article of somebody writing about, hey, I got 10,000 followers, I bought them, I got fake photos, I bought likes, and I tricked this brand into giving me a deal. Anybody read that? It was a really hot article, 2018. A whole bunch of writers did it and thought they were super clever. Great. So those were unsophisticated, smaller brands, right? So I think the real players, especially now in 2019, going on 2020, they know about the whalers. They can look at engagement and see if it's a bot comment versus an actual specific answer to a question, if it's back and forth dialogue. It's really simple to see. And then also back end, there's a level that I think people can, if they read a headline and get excited about it, you can really villainize people and try to make a blanket statement about everything. And then also there's a timing thing. Because again, I told you, I was a student in the game. So back in 2013, 2014, before anybody knew what a bot was, I was seeing, because you can see people how they're interacting. People are lightning fast, liking and interacting with different posts. And how are they doing this? And years later, I found out they were bots. But those same people are millions of followers now, and it wasn't villainized then because, again, it wasn't against the terms and services. Facebook hadn't bought them yet. It wasn't a real established business yet, right? So it didn't need to be brand safe. It was just a fun way to get people to see your work. So they might be a photographer or whatever, and then pivot it into a personal brand now. So I think it's timing, and I think it's education to know how to navigate it and know when it's real. Because people will make YouTube videos and get lots of clicks on this person is fake, look at their social blade, but you don't know that they went viral on this, or maybe a large page posted them and they got a lot of, you don't know, they can be big on TikTok. But because people are ignorant, then you can just throw hey, you faking, bro, and that's it. You know what I mean? But it's not always the case. So there we go. That's my piece.
Anyone else got anything to say on fraud?
Just don't do it. I mean, because it's like so competitive, like I can see why someone wanting to go into it just wants to do it for like just to get their name out there, just to get that visibility. But at the end of the day, like you're gonna lose those followers, you're gonna have brands look you up, and then like once they kind of think that you're buying or that something isn't authentic, you're kind of like you're screwing it up for yourself. So you might as well figure out like what it is that helps you grow. Like people can tell from engagement who's genuinely interested. People can tell through like just how that influencer interacts with their followers, whether or not it's real. So I think from a brand perspective, it's their responsibility to do their research, because you don't want to be giving your money to someone that isn't going to give you sales or give you attention, because behind it, it's a robot. So for brands, it's important to do their research. And for influencers, it's just a matter of like, yes, it's very saturated, and I get the immediate appeal by going from 0 to 10,000 followers. But at the end of the day, like you're probably going to lose them over time. People aren't going to like your photos, and then it just looks bad.
Instagram will purge them. I mean,
Yeah.
I think in the last few months, they've been doing a crazy purge.
Yeah,
Kim
they had
Kardashian lost, like,
that
20
massive purge like
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
But then I was at Instagram, and they told me that they probably won't do another purge again, but they said that usually they'll cycle through every 24 hours just to get rid of fake followers. So it's just like, you might as well just save your money for something else.
Right. And one thing you can't fake is conversion, right? Like that's one thing
Yeah.
I take a lot of pride in. It's like, okay, like let's move the needle. Let's like see if we can help the bottom
Yeah.
line of the people we work with. And then that's something that you just can't fake.
You could probably get good numbers just by like asking an influencer like, oh, what are your story metrics? Because those are the people that are actually watching you.
Right.
Like-
but then also I think there's something to be said like from the company side.
Yeah.
A lot of times like I ain't got time to be doing all that research, right? I'd rather link up with the whaler or somebody who already has like, that's why you guys work so hard to have like direct access with like
Yes,
Instagram,
we
Facebook.
do.
Right. You're like deep. No, seriously, like you need like almost a higher authority you can depend on, because as
We got you, we're here.
as a marketer, you want like you got to be efficient with your time. You
Yeah.
got other things to take care of, like researching. I got time to be Googling stuff. I have deadlines, and like my data people like breathing down my throat. Like we gotta reach these. Where are the KPIs? We gotta, like it's like okay, so I get it, So like it's we say do your research, but like they don't have time. That's not their job. You know what I mean? It's tough.
So I'm getting somewhat distracted because there are so many great questions popping up.
I'm
And
not even looking at that screen right now. I'm like,
I am. So I think let's hear really quickly, starting with you, Natalia, about how did you get your first partnership?
Well, since I started so early, I was really young and crafted my own email and did hundreds and hundreds of emails per week when I was like 13, 14, because I wanted free stuff. Like I was in middle school and I just
Who
wanted like
doesn't?
free clothes, free bows, and I repped it in school and like showed it off. But eventually I started to get more substantial clients like Adobe, but my first partnership, it was all my own outreach because
Yep.
I wanted to work with other people. And I think a lot of it is doing your own research and finding what brands like suit your values and what you want, and also match with your content too, which is super important.
you are so awesome. I love your hustle. 19.
It's a love match going on right in front of us. Alyssa.
How did I get my first part? I got into it not knowing that it was a job. I didn't know what could come out of it. I was in college. I was in school for interior design. I was like neck deep in like all this schoolwork, and I just needed something to distract me. So I would be posting about my outfits, like what I was doing that weekend. Like I was hanging out with my boyfriend, and the following grew like over time just because I was like consistent about it. I worked in retail, so fashion's always been a part of it, but I didn't know I could get free stuff out of it until I got an email. I think it was like Daniel Wellington that emailed me. It was like, oh, we'll give you a watch, but like everyone, and we'll give you a code for it. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. So I was doing the work just so that I got something for free, just like Natalia. And then I got a code. I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be great for my followers. And then for a while, I was so happy with the free stuff, and I didn't even know I could get paid for it until
Yes.
someone emailed me. I was like, hey, we'll pay you X amount just to do this. I was like, what you mean?
Like
I
money.
was like you want to use me?
Compensation?
I was like, oh, like money. So then I started like lessening my availability at work, because what I like $7.25 an hour like doesn't do anything.
You work retail?
Yeah,
Same.
sucks. But I mean, it also was just like me realizing this was something that could become something else. So then I started to dedicate more time into my blog. I bought a domain. I bought like a layout for Blogger, and I started to take like money I was getting from my retail job and then putting it into it. And I was like, okay, if I make this more official, I remember getting business cards. I was like, maybe something else could come out of it. So it was really just through like doing my own thing, and someone saw it and figured, oh, this person could be worth our money. So I didn't chase it. It just kind of happened and stumbled upon it.
Devin, can you remember your first deal?
Same as you, outreach, a lot of outreach, but I was much older. I was like 24, 25, but for me, and so like just, anyway, I was working retail at the time, and it was, for me, it was more so about like building portfolio work. I knew I wanted to figure it out, so I was like, hey, let me just like shoot stuff for you and send you content. I don't want to post it. They're like, oh, why don't you post it too? So that's how it started, but for me, it was more about figuring out like how to tell stories, how do I, I was writing copy for brands, I was shooting photos for them, and they were just giving me stuff, but I wasn't like posting it. So my first brand deal, it was just through outreach, through relationship, through building. Yeah, 20 emails a day for 2 years.
That's some hustle, but that's what it takes in this space, and then the content
Especially early,
does
I'm
the
telling
heavy
you,
lifting
Wild
for
West,
you.
okay? That's why I got the boots on. That's the point.
So we've got a great question that's coming from Morgan. So what was the void that you feel opened the door for influencers, and then what caused the tidal wave? So you guys all quite clearly, there is a need that you're fulfilling, and kind of like, I think that's what this question's getting at, wherever Morgan is. But then how have we gone from like a bit of a trickle to now there's been such demand for what you do?
I think people have started to realize, well, it looks glamorous. The life looks glamorous. Like you get free stuff, and you get paid for it. And it seems easy from the outside. They don't know all the work that goes into it. So I think more people are starting to become more interested and starting to figure out how to do it. And more people are starting to call themselves influencers and starting to build their brand. And so that's kind of like what started the saturation of people influencing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just always a need for just more connecting, right? I think, like, everybody saw the whole, like, Chick-fil-A, KFC thing, right? Nobody here did not see the Chick-fil-A. Not KFC, what is it? Popeyes. I'm tripping. I don't know anything about anything. Sorry. You don't have to raise your hands, I know you all know. The point is this. They handled that so well because of brand voice. So the best brands become people. We are people that became brands. We did the opposite, right? So there's a point here is that I think social media at the end of the day is word of mouth at scale. So I'd rather take your recommendation on what to eat. You've been living here for a while. I'm gonna ask you what's the best restaurant. I don't care what the Michelin star says. You're a person.
Yeah.
So I want to connect with people, and that's what this has been able to scale. So I think there was a need for that. And then the reason of the tidal wave, because it looks like it's easy. Like it's, I put influencer in my profile, and I read this cool article that said this person bought phone. Anyway.
I think it's also just being like so easily and quickly connected to someone, and also just like how many people in this room have swiped up on something that they saw on Instagram through like someone's story. Like
now you raise your hand.
It's
Nice.
it's so quick, it's so easy. Like you made the choice to follow this person because you're into their style, and then the fact that they post something and you're like, yeah, I'm into it. Like it's just so easy to be linked to a product. And the thing is, like, we're in a generation where we just are addicted to our phones. Like, I wasn't looking at commercials anymore. I wasn't looking at the ads in magazines because it just seemed so unattainable. And the fact that you are following someone that's just like your average Joe and like having their, like the girl next door, it's just so much more relatable. And I feel like that was what was missing. And that aligned with just how addicted we are to social media in general is the reason why it has done so well.
So given where we were, even like 3-5 years ago, compared to where we are right now, how big do you think what you do can get? So if you're going from getting like a free top or a free bow when you were 13 to like unbelievable paid work with like brands who are driven by data. Like, what do you think's next? Like, what are you excited about on your personal journeys?
I'm excited about how brands use my content. So whenever I see brands on even just like an Instagram feed, it excites me. Or sometimes they can use it like on a billboard or like in Times Square. Like, you never know. It's exciting to see where it ends up. And also just like personally, I'm creating a book, and like that's exciting. That's another way of like marketing myself, but it's also like my passion project.
Tell us more about the book.
Oh, the book. Okay, so it's a highlight reel of the past 6 years of my work, and so all the best work. And there's also, it's like an interactive photo book, and so there's transparent papers that act as like the layered PSD files. So there's pieces of each photo on each paper, and so if you put it all together, it's the complete photo. So I'm really excited for it to come out. It'll come out in the next couple of months, and it's my love, it's my baby.
That's
Congratulations,
awesome.
it's amazing.
19.
Exactly. You feel me?
Imagine how I feel. You're
Right.
much nearer 19 than I am. Alyssa, over to you.
What was the question again? Sorry.
What are you most excited about? How, like, what you're doing right now, from like Tumblr to everything you're achieving? Like,
I mean,
what's next?
it's just crazy, like how much has happened in the past couple of years and where it can go. Like, people didn't used to pay too much attention with influencers in terms of their budget for marketing. So now I feel like there's just so much more energy and genuine interest put into it. Like, a couple years ago, I was folding shirts at Hollister for $7.25 an hour. But today an email blast went out, and it was one of my photos that I shot with Abercrombie. And it's just crazy, like how much can change in just a short amount of time, because it is growing and changing so fast. And I mean, I can't even imagine where it's gonna go, but I'm sure like we're all so excited to be like at the forefront of it.
Anything to
my
add?
turn. I mean, for me personally, I mean, same as you guys, I'm just excited to continue to like grow, learn, work with people. But I think I'm more excited about behind the scenes work. I've been lately been more sought after for my following, and I just love to have like, you know, be across from executives and be giving them advice. I don't know if you understand how good that feels, because I think like any campaign.
You're doing it right now, by the way.
Oh, okay. But I know, but like at the table where I have power to make decisions, and they're like, Devin, what do we do? That's a beautiful feeling, because I think whenever you partner with a brand, sometimes they have it all figured out before they even come to you. You're like, I'm not gonna put my circle peg into your square hole. Doesn't make sense. You should have brought me in way earlier in the conversation. Not me, so maybe somebody else. I'm not the person. So I think I'm excited for us to really just embrace our power as influencers, as creators, as multi-hyphenate, passionate people, okay? You get what I'm saying? Because I think that it's more than just likes and comments, it's affecting culture. We have the power to do that, right? You don't know what little kid that you are inspiring. I get so many emails, DMs from people like, hey, like, I was gonna have to be a lawyer because my dad was gonna make me. Then I showed him that video that you talked about, from dropping out of college to like working at Snapchat and everything. Like, now he's gonna let me like study art like I really want to. I'm like, okay, dope. I was able to free him from the shackles of his parents' expectations. That was great.
It's incredible.
Yeah, that was lovely, right? So like when I'm able to see, okay, like I'm able to impact lives and like help people get to where they want to be and inspire them and give them the tools to how to do that, I think that's the most important part. So just embrace our power, man. We can do more than what people try to make it seem like. It's not all Kim
Without
Kardashian.
question.
It's not all that.
Thank goodness.
Right.
So we've got a question from Kim that's kind of on the same subject. So she's asking if we can talk a bit about brands from an experiential or event perspectives, actually having you in real life, more immersed in experience, kind of like doing things beyond the post, I guess. Have you done any experiential work, any of you, or been at events with a brand?
Like pop-ups?
Yeah.
Just like being a part of it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great way to see just like how much attention you can bring to a place. Like, I know that I just did a post with a brand who has a pop-up in Soho, and they're only there for 2 weeks. So they need something that's super quick in terms of getting the attention of people to know that their store is there, because they are only there for like 2 weeks. So the fact that we can just readily give that information out to say, like I have 142,000 followers, but only a fraction of them are in New York. But if I reach just like maybe like 20, 30 people and get their foot in the door, the brand loves that.
Yep.
So it's just being able to quickly connect with people for something that's just super quick, like a pop-up.
What advice would you give brands who are thinking about working with digital creators, influencers for the first time? This is like their first rodeo. What is the advice you'd give them?
I'd say transparency. For me, it helps a lot when brands are upfront and put everything on the table of what they want and their expectations. And so there aren't any discrepancies afterwards. And also just personally, I really like mood boards because I'm a very visual person. And I love when like the brand has an idea of what they want in colors and or weird objects that they want in the photos. Like I'm open to it all.
Agreed. I think to what she said about like put it all out there, it's funny because you get in these meetings with everybody's on the one call and they're like, yeah, like we love your work, we want you to be creative, like do your thing.
I know exactly where this is going.
All right. And then look, then I'll go and get lunch with the actual person that cares about this, that's over the whole thing. I just want to sell shoes, dude. All right, got it. Let me know. Like let us know the heart of it. Like again, see at the table, transparency, give us the real deal, and we'll give you what you need. The more we know, the more we can be assets to you. We're not here to look famous and pop our collars. We're here to, build relationships and bring value.
True.
So this is about the future of influence. A question just popped up around Instagram and them getting rid of the number of likes on posts, which is obviously it's happening in Canada and some other European markets. It will get rolled out in the US soon. You guys probably more know than I do when that will actually happen, but it's going to be soon. One, kind of like, what do you think about it? And secondly, do you think you're going to now be doing more in stories rather than on your grid as a direct result?
Go ahead.
I don't think I'll ever stop creating content because what I post on stories and what I post on my feed are quite different because stories is more like in the moment and behind the scenes. And so they have to go on my profile to see the final image.
Yeah.
And so not seeing the number of likes doesn't really matter to me because I'm still like putting out my work and I'm still sharing the process. And I think the person himself can see how many likes they receive. So that's enough for me.
Yeah, as long as I can share the metrics with my brand partners, I really don't care. It's not really a big deal to me.
Yeah.
And if it helps like people's health and addiction to their phones, then fine. Win-win.
I don't know if I'm about it. I mean, I have a friend who's in Toronto and she doesn't see people's likes or anything like that. But she sees her own, but she feels like I feel like a number, when you see it under a photo, it helps it like bring attention to it. I mean, I don't know if did they say it's officially happening in the US?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Dun, dun, dun.
Dang. But I mean, with all the changes, like they've changed the algorithm, they've changed their layout, like we just have to roll with it and adapt. Like that's the only thing we can do. There's no, we can't just fight it. I can't tell Instagram what to do.
Give it a go.
Yeah.
We've got 5 minutes left, so let's see what other questions we've got. Actually, no, I've got one more question, actually. In terms of are there, when it comes to working with platforms or brands, has there been a pivot in the type of questions you're getting? Whether it be like the kind of work you're being asked to do or anything around data, are there any trends that you're seeing because of these questions that you think will impact in the next year or two?
One more time.
I don't think I actually understand the question.
Working with brands, working with platforms, are they asking you to do different types of work?
Than
they used to, yeah, and how so?
Yeah, I think similar to what you were saying earlier, I think after they work with you and they see your work ethic and your style, I think trust is built. So after that first,
I know it sounds like it's me, but it's definitely not me.
That's the biggest
I was like-
phone ever. I don't know what they're doing right now.
I don't know, but it
it's
feels
serious.
like it's happening just here.
Oh, this is great. Amazing.
Massage.
This is great.
Well, I guess that's that.
It's literally right underneath me.
Is it construction?
Okay, I'm gonna go to the floor for a question. Really quickly. Do you pay to promote your posts? How do you feel about running ads? Let's start with the list. I mean, I guess we know how you feel about running ads. You feel good about it.
Yeah.
But I don't pay to promote them. I think I did once with just like one of my organic posts just to test out like if it makes a difference. But for me personally, I think it's a great way for me to gauge what my audience is actually into. And I feel like if an ad does well without me having to put my own money back into it, then I know like what's actually resonating with them, because then I'm not doing my proper research. So I think to just post it and leave it as it is, see how it does, is the best way for me to know moving forward what kind of promoted posts I should be doing.
I'm really worried I'm gonna suddenly just drop through the Like, get rid of the Brit. Anyone else?
I don't know if I'm afraid to talk.
You're afraid, I'm terrified. Okay, so from Danny, when working with brands that have a distinct voice and image, how do you make sure your point of view actually comes across organically?
I think it should be a good fit from the beginning, yeah?
And so
That's my answer.
they agree. And I guess from what I've heard, you wouldn't work with a brand that doesn't authentically connect with your brand values.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about working with other influencers? This is a good one.
I love working with other and collaborating and kind of mixing both of our visions. I think it's super interesting. It helps both people grow. So I constantly am looking to collaborate with other influencers or creators and expand and experiment and grow. So I love it.
Great.
There's a caveat there though, because it comes down to value exchange, right? So
True.
I get offers to collab all the time, but there's no upside for me. So it's like, hey, I got 2,000 followers. You want to collab? I love your work, man. I'm like, yeah, I don't love your work. And but it's not no shade. It's just it is what it is. If there's no value exchange, if it's not something that we both can get out of it, or if I just don't genuinely like your work, it's not about the followers, but if it's not the work is not there, if we can't both bring something that we're both excited about to the table, then yeah. But I'm
you
all
have
for
to be
you. I would
selective.
absolutely
Yeah.
fun project, whatever, because your work is just phenomenal, right? But it doesn't make sense if our aesthetics don't match or we're about different things. It just doesn't make sense.
Have you collaborated, Alyssa?
With my friends that are also in the industry and where we genuinely hang out outside of just taking photos together. I feel like that's a great way to partner and kind of cross-pollinate your followers, because then your followers are going to see oh, they hang out. I love both of their style. It's a great way to kind of just increase your visibility. And then when I hear that one of my friends is working on the same project and he's like, it's great. It's oh, let's link up. Let's try and figure out how we can shoot both of our content. It's all about having a helping hand, but also just genuinely vibing with each other.
So this is a great question from Jess Smith, and it's going to be our final one. What influencers do you look up to or looked to as trendsetters? So let's start with Alyssa and work back.
I think one of the first bloggers that I followed was Ami Song. And that was when I was still in college before I started my blog. But seeing what she's done in the past couple of years, the fact that she has her own brand now, she went from being an interior designer that was doing this on the side to now having her own company, and she's had several books. I feel like it's just crazy to see what someone can achieve after putting all their time and effort into it. And that's why I decided to go for this industry full time. Like I graduated with a degree in interior design and I was lined up to do my interviews. But after a summer off and dedicating so much time into my blog, it just kind of took off. So I've been full-time since I graduated college, which is crazy to say because if you asked me when I was fresh out of high school that I would make money or make a living off of posting on social media, I would not have believed you.
Devin?
Who do I look up to? That's a toughie. I mean, I get inspired from all types of directions. Mostly as YouTubers. That's like the new space that I'm in that I'm enjoying a lot. I just feel like it's a great way to connect with people and like for them to see your personality and you can actually add value in a long form way. They can just, you know, take pieces from it and go. Yeah, I don't have a person. The YouTube space is just really interesting for me right now.
I don't have a specific person as well. I look up to a lot of different influencers, and I mostly look up to them because of their level of skill, because some of them are crazy, some of them are crazy in video or photo, and I admire them for all their hard work and all their creativity. So I look up to many different people in the Instagram space and YouTube space as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Sorry for the noise. It added a bit of drama. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.